Hello, welcome to the channel, thanks for watching. Now, if you've watched my Reaver Titan build video so far, you'll know I've already sealed the hull together. So why am I showing you the inside of a hull and going back in time? Well, this video is about really how I think about projects, what I do partway through them and planning for the future. So inside the Reaver Titan, there are certain parts that you see in here that are just fantastic pieces that I, again, would seal away, and it's a shame to lose them. So you see there, I took the hacksaw to the inside of this model and chopped off this really cool piece, which is like this built-in weird chaosy servitor that probably controls the vehicle in some way. So I've chopped that off, and now it's time to fake some of these parts. So whenever I'm partway through a project, I always try and think about what's coming next or what potentially is in the future and what I might like to keep hold of or do. One of my favourite bits of hobby material is blue stuff, and in this one we're going to show you how I've cast up some of the parts that come with this Titan. So obviously you've seen me chop off the servitor. All these other pieces are what come with the Reaver Titan set, and they're like a conversion pack so that you can make the weapons that you might buy to go on this Titan into chaosy looking ones, because you don't actually get any chaos symbols on the weapons that come with the vehicle. You get some little conversion pieces. Now obviously you only get a few of these little conversion pieces, which means if I want to go out and buy more weapons for the Titan at some point or whatever, I won't have enough pieces to make that look chaosy. So this is where the beauty of blue stuff comes out, and copying and faking, in advance. So I'm not going to go through particularly how to make the blue stuff molds. I'll link a video down below where I've shown that and really fully explain it. But I'm doing two types of molds here: a push mold that you've seen me push onto those symbols that were on there, and this more is like a little block mold that I'm pushing the pieces into. There's two types of molds. You push the blue stuff onto something, or you push something into the blue stuff. So different types of molds depending on the pieces that I'm casting up. And if you're wondering why I'm doing it on this little white bit of lid for a box here, that cutting mat has got in such a bad state, it's going to pick up all sorts of stuff from there. So it is clean and tidy, but I definitely need a new cutting mat. Now I'm being super careful when I'm moulding up the servitor piece, because there's lots of little air pockets and things in there, so you can see me pushing the air out as I'm making these molds. Blue stuff is one of my favourite moulding materials. You get it from Greenstuff World, but I do know also like TT Combat do their version, and there's Oyomaru, which is the Japanese original version of this. So plenty of things you can do it on. But really I'm just talking about what my thought process is when I'm halfway through a project. So I got halfway through this Titan and kind of went, right, I don't want to miss the opportunity of getting some of these pieces moulded up. So some of the stuff that I'm casting, you're probably not going to see me use for a long time on the channel, if ever. You know what I mean? I've still got some blue stuff molds that I've taken years ago, never used, melted down till I'm finally never going to use them, or some that I've got and I still have. So as much as this is a reusable product, there is some molds that I've kept for years. So you can see here what I'm doing is I'm going around and taking casts on the shoulder armour panels, now moving on to kind of the legs. I'm going to go across the body here. And it's really looking at parts of the casting on this model that I think that would look brilliant to be cast onto the weapons that look very Imperial. Or it might be that I think, do you know what, in the future I know I'm going to do another Chaos Knight, I know I'm going to do a Land Raider, I know I'm going to do something like that. How can I in the future use these pieces to make that look more chaosy? Particularly this knee piece here. So when I was casting this, I thought, oh, this will be fantastic. I have no idea what this will be fantastic for, but I took a mould of it anyway, because at some point in the future this might go onto a scenery piece, onto a weird chaos wall, or there's going to be some reason to have it. And to be fair, the blue stuff, yeah, it's not the cheapest things in the world, but it's nice to have a few options. So you can see here, taking the pieces out when it's been fully dry, and I've now got these moulds and I'm going to have them forever. Now this servitor piece, it is fantastic, and I've got a few ideas of what I'm going to do in terms of a scenery piece to use that. But again, great to have the availability to cast that up multiple times, if you want to. So really that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is my hobby journey as I'm going through a project. I don't necessarily just think about the current project I'm working on. I think, how can this project impact future projects? And you'll find that I will, try new techniques. I maybe will never use that technique again, or I might drop something into the arsenal. So when you look at my Nurgle army in particular, the first models I did are quite different to the current ones, whilst being in a theme, because as you go through the army, you'll pick up new techniques and new hobbies and whatever. This is a new technique I'm doing now. So these symbols you can see here, very, very thin molds, very, very thin depth to the actual symbols. And historically what I would do is just slap a layer of green stuff on and, push it all in, and then slice around the symbol when it's finished. I've got into the habit now of putting very small pieces of green stuff into the mould, some Vaseline and water on my fingers so it doesn't stick to me, and pushing thin amounts into the mould so that you get a nice thin symbol, and also you're really cutting down on the wastage, which is something we should all really do, because obviously this is not, a cheap hobby. so any way you can make savings is a good idea. So yeah, I've made all these symbols, made all these castings. What's kind of coming next with this? Now the next video I'm going to do, particularly related to the Titan, is nurgling it up. So you're going to see me making the weapons more nurgle, making the Titan itself more nurgle, and then doing the base, and you'll see the paint scheme. So it's good to look back. I am obviously at the stage now where I'm ready to undercoat the model. I've done the base, I've done the chaosing, but it's good to look back at the stages that I took through the build, you know, in preparation for the future. Now just a quick point here, you'll see the first few symbols I filled with green stuff. So that's, you know, 2-part, that kind of epoxy molding material. I'm sure everyone knows kind of what that is. I'm filling some of the molds with milliput, which is a more rigid, solid piece. Very good for putting onto, you know, scenery bits, areas that aren't going to flex and move. If you're going to try and put something around like a curve of a model, you're going to be using green stuff to move around there. And then what I'm doing, I'm taking some green stuff and some milliput, talking about this piece about planning ahead. You know, I've got both these materials now mixed up on the bench because I've done 2 separate molds, and I'm doing a mix of milliput and green stuff really to take the best elements of both, the flexibility of green stuff but the strength and rigidity of milliput, and I'm filling that into the kind of horn spike molds, whatever you want to call them, because when you pull stuff out of this type of mold, very, very thin, so you need strength, but you also need a bit of flex, so you're not going to snap the end off. So when I'm pushing this kind of 2-part material in there, you know, that's why I've done it. And I've also, for a first experiment, taken a paper clip. Never used these before. I've used pinning wire and kind of things in molds, but then pushed a paper clip down into the spike to give it a bit of strength. So anytime I do a project, I try and learn something new, try something different, also plan ahead and just, you know, have a bit of fun. And it's a way of making fun or more hobby out of, you know, a single project by doing little things like this. So you can see the molded pieces and the chaos symbols have come out quite nicely out of these molds, and you will see, particularly arrows here, you'll see these used very, very quickly onto the weapons, and I think these are going to make a real impact on making that model look like the whole thing was chaos, not just, you know, the body and the torso chaos and the weapons being imperial. So some really nice little pieces come out there. This I think has worked particularly well. And this casting has made me really think about how I'm going to use this in not just 40k, not just Nurgle, but also this could make some great kind of weird necromundery, underhive, gross, chaosy vibes. So really quite pleased with what's coming out of the moulding here. Again, this is just a ramble and a chat through my thought process of how I do projects. So yeah, hopefully you like this kind of ramble. The whole point of my channel, I've said it a few times before, really is to just show what I'm doing in the hobby and show my thought processes around kind of how I work and what I do. It's not quite the normal YouTube channel, because I think a lot of it's done for, you know, algorithmic and whatever, but really this is just me having a laugh, showing you how I prep for my next project. So if you did like what I'm showing you here, as I'm showing you a very tiny mould of a very, very old bit of scenery. Yes, so if you do like this, like, comment, subscribe, all YouTube jazz, and I'll see you on another video.